Well, hey there. I'm going to try to put together the LeeKooLuu. That is the backup camera on a 2005 Town & Country. Now let me just tell you, if you're not somewhat experienced in fooling with cars, you don't even want to think about this job because it's a lot more complicated than I thought it was. So I'm going to show you the first few steps here. First thing you have to do is pop this panel off, and you see the little buttons that stick up. Well, you can use a putty knife to slowly work around the edge of this panel until you get it all off. Now there'll be one connector to your light that's in the tailgate that you got to take loose, but this pops off and clips onto this little metal piece right here up by the motor, and it just all drops down. There's two screws that hold it where the handle is, and you have to kind of go in and get them, but that's all that holds that on. So once you pop that off, you've got access to the areas, and this is the particularly interesting area right here where the handle is on the outside. You got to drill a hole here to get the wire through, a 1/2-inch hole. You will also need to pop off this piece right here, the piece that runs across the latch for the tailgate. This just pops off into these holes, just pop, and then you got to pop this out, and again just pops out. You can see the little plastic things that hold it in there. There's not much to it. Oh, there we go. And you got to locate this wiring harness that's down underneath the carpet. And this is the wire. This is the backup wire. It's white with a faint green stripe. Now there is a white with a darker green stripe over here. That's not it. It's the faint green, but you really should test it with a tester. Like I had this little pointy tester that you can actually stick it in the wire and it'll light up. Then put a piece of tape over where you prodded it. But that'll tell you for sure if you've got it in reverse and your reverse lights are on. This white with a light green wire should be it. Now I'm going to drill a hole right here to bring the wire through from the outside of the tailgate. Right up there between the two lights. You need to get it as close to this, little gap, but close to this screw as possible, so you can feed the wires up there and actually reach it from the back side, because that hole is going to be right about here somewhere, so you want to be able to grab your wires and pull them in. Got the hole drilled. It's a 1/2-inch. Couldn't find a rubber bushing, so I made one out of just a little piece of rubber hose. I had to cut a little piece out to make it fit, so when you pinch it together it'll fit in that hole and protect the wires from being cut by the metal. Okay, so now you see our little hole up there, 1/2-inch hole, and we got to get all this stuff in there, and it's just going to go through one at a time until it all goes through. You can't put them through together, obviously. Well, as it turns out, 1/2-inch wouldn't cut it, so I had to widen the hole using this step drill bit. Get them at Harbor Freight real cheap, up to a 9/16 hole. Not only that, I had to shave off the little grips on the round part of the wire here. It had some things sticking out. As soon as I shaved off those little extra grips that aren't really necessary, it slid right through a 9/16 hole. Okay, so here it is installed. Make sure they're tight, but don't tighten them so much you break the thing. And that little blue dot, see how one's got 4 lights and the other 3 on the left side? There's a little infrared sensor on the top left. That goes at the top on the left side. Well, a lot of aggravation later. You see I've got this all sealed back in, and eventually I'm going to tie this red to this red, but right now I'm trying to run it up along the roof liner. But now I've got to get it into that central hole, and that central hole feeds over to this rubber S. I popped it out. I've already got it coming out, and now I got to take the wire into the hose and out, and then into where the headliner goes, and then I'll run the power up along this strip and go up underneath here and get them joined together to get power from the taillight. It's a mess. I want to show you how to get it through the S. I've got a piece of coat hanger wire here. I've just bent with a little crook on the end of it. I've already done it once, but I had to pull it out because I had the wire wrapped around something. Just tape it to that and then pull it through the hole and then feed it in to that bottom hole there to get it up above the headliner. Now I had to take this back headliner cover off. It goes across up there, and it has these same push-in clips that go in slots up there. And I just worked a screwdriver in underneath and pried them loose, popped right out. Now I've got easy access to where all my wire is going to go up underneath there. I taped the power wire and the video wire together to get them through all these pullings. And now that we've got it up to where they need to separate, I'm untaping it and take the power down here and the video cable, of course, to the front. Well, I've got it all wired up and working. What we had to do since our last installment, when I ran the wires through here and down into here from the back tailgate, is I had to get some wire in this black sheath. It's a black and red, and I ran it down into this side pocket, carefully missing this arm where it would cut it, and ran it over into the side so that it comes out into here. Now, I was able to find, see where the little red connector is? That's where I joined that red, the power wire for the whole system, to the backup light. Now that is on a white with a light green wire. It's the same color as down under the floorboard. But I did test it with a little tester before I connected all this up. So I tested it with a light. I know it's hot and I know it works. Then I had to run the wire from there over behind a little metal strut here to come out into the area where the jack is stored, and that's so I could put a fuse in it here, right in here. I'm going to put a 1 amp fuse in line just so there's no chance of a short. Then I ran the wire runs back up into this harness, comes back out and hooks to this red wire that goes with the black wire up to the front of the car where the little screen will be. Now the red wire creating power, it comes in here and hooks to this red jack. This has a small red lead that comes off the AV wire, and you just, with this red connector, I've attached that little wire to the main red that takes the power up. So it's explained in the booklet when you wire this up, but this is your main wire coming with the power to the camera, and then by feeding it through this connector, you're also feeding it to the AV that takes it all the way to the front. And this wire here is what goes down, actually connects to the power in here, and then goes through a fuse back up to the power source. So I've hooked it all up. It does work. Everything's fine. But as I said, this is a lot of work. Now I'm not going to put the wire up underneath there today because I've got some friends putting me in a new headliner, and I'm going to let them put the wire up then. But if you're an average guy, this is probably not a job you want to tackle.